Hello and welcome to Abuja, Nigeria, and one of Africa's most hotly anticipated events. Afreximbank's annual meetings are regarded as the biggest and most important gathering of their kind anywhere in Africa. And in this, its 32nd year, it's bigger than ever before. More than 4,000 delegates are gathering here, coming from all across Africa and beyond. Bringing you the biggest names and the brightest minds in African trade, politics, business, culture, and more.
You can be a master of your destiny, but there's a lot more work to do.
Each year, in this amazing coming together of minds, the latest ideas designed to transform African trade are proposed and debated, and key decision makers meet to thrash out the solutions. And this year, the event has come back to where it all started, 3 decades ago, Nigeria. I'm Hanan Farjani, and for the next 4 days, I've got an Access All Areas pass to take you right into the heart of proceedings. Bringing you all the highlights.
Everybody put your hands up. One time, y'all, come on.
I see the spirit of Africa reigniting.
The behind-the-scenes conversations.
It is only when we work together that we prosper together.
And meeting the people behind world-changing decisions.
You have to come and contribute. You have to come and play. You can't just be a spectator in this incredible story that is unfolding.
From dealing with Trump's trade tariffs to the latest innovations in technology and investment, and how Africa can continue to forge its path to prosperity in today's volatile global economy.
We live in an era of uncertainty, and support is no longer certain.
Things may look uncertain, they may look volatile, but we just need to begin to wear our resilience hat.
The world has to pay more attention to Africa because the weight of Africa in the world will increase in the coming decades.
It's also President Oramah's final year at the helm of Afreximbank, where he's much loved for his transformative vision and leadership.
He is the architect of modern Pan-Africanism.
When it comes to African trade, this is the place to be. Welcome to the Afreximbank Annual Meetings 2025. It's day one, and as everyone arrives, shakes off the jet lag, and starts to get down to business, there's a tangible sense that this year's event is especially important. In a year of upheaval all over the world, Africa, along with other economies, faces big challenges and huge uncertainty. And the ideas and decisions that will come out in the next few days will certainly mold the future of African trade for years to come.
The excitement is real, and the focus of Africa and bringing Africa together to talk about trade, to talk about finance.
The turn-up is massive, which is a good thing because everyone wants to be part of Afrexim.
And I see a new focus in terms of how we try to shift our destiny into our own hands.
It's time to head to the conference hall for a look back at the history of Afreximbank and a very special performance.
The very first time Africa spoke in unity, that first OAU meeting in 1963, our founding fathers said, independence is trade. For we will never be truly free till we begin to freely trade with each other. This is the dream that lay fallow for 30 years, till a man from Senegal came and brought it to life and built an institution with a single task: to promote continental trade.
I was inspired to work towards a translation of that dream into a noble Pan-African reality through the work that Afreximbank will do in the promotion of trade.
Today we live that dream of stepping on the iniquities of our yesteryears to step up to our future today. Today we live that dream. Today.
The DNA of the bank required resilience, capacity to tolerate other views, capacity to look ahead and resist difficulties.
This is the dream that we would not stand apart as island economies, but stand as one to scale up economies. We are formidable, Thai in our diaspora. We are unstoppable, Africa rising to become global. This is the dream.
You have to develop the proper attitude. It's not because you are African that you are a human being who can actually achieve things.
This is the dream we must all keep carrying. This is the dream we must all keep living. This is the dream.
These annual meetings have become pivotal in generating ideas, shaping policy design, and changing the narrative.
Afreximbank has been at the forefront, whether it's healthcare, whether it's agribusiness, in catalytic projects, infrastructure across the continent. It's also quite nostalgic. It's the president's last annual general meeting, and he's Nigerian, as you know, and he's been at this decade, and a lot of, when I think back of all what has happened, happy to be here in Abuja. We're happy to welcome everybody.
The bank has come a long way on its mission to create African prosperity. I wanted to speak to someone who was there right from day one.
I'm now here with Kabina Kumara. He's former Prime Minister of Guinea. He's one of the chairman of the Global Fairness Foundation, but first and foremost, he is one of the founding fathers of Afreximbank. So he has seen the very beginning of this project when it was just an idea, like the genesis of the story, and we're so happy to have him with us. How are you doing today?
Okay, I'm fine. In fact, I'm very proud. For the first time in history, Africa was about to set up a commercial bank funded by African states with a vision to develop intra-African trade and African export. The bank is promoting trade among African countries, but you cannot trade without developing infrastructure, without developing products, industrial products, without developing human capital, without developing energy.
The theme this year is resilience. Can you speak to this resilience of African markets and the continent in general?
Yes, you know, sometimes crises are very useful. It helps you to revisit where you are coming, what are the capacity you have to the inside to develop. So resilience is exactly what Africa has been facing. We must find a way to produce locally, to have some kind of sovereignty so that we can produce among ourselves, trade among ourselves, and unite our force. But to achieve that objective, we must unite our policies, be very selective, and be forward-thinking. We must have strategy, but implement also our strategy.
It's amazing how quickly the bank has grown and how much it has achieved. And the initial goal for Africa to forge its own path to prosperity is the topic of the next session up on stage, exploring how African trade is central to the continent's continued development.
Trade is an integral part of economic development, but I think the opportunities that are challenges and opportunities facing us now require us to not only see trade as a route for economic expansion, but one that allows us to realize structural transformation and economic diversification in our economies.
This is an opportunity for Africa to move towards deeper economic integration. We must speak with one voice. We have the opportunity now to sit at the table and say, this is the African proposal on the structure of a future global economic architecture.
By 2100, Africa's population could reach 10 times the size of Europe.
We have a market as big as India, as big as China. We are well poised to be globally competitive as a continent.
Clearly, the world has to pay more attention to Africa because the weight of Africa in the world will increase in the coming decades.
Can you imagine if the exports from that 1.5, let's say 1 billion, fueled the rest of the world? If that were a strategic objective that Africa had, it would make Africa a partner that you can't live without that partner.
To be able to generate revenue and profits by tapping into the fastest growing market in the world, that is where the magic happens.
We can come together as Africans to drive an agenda for development that is African-led, African-determined, and African financed.
If you come together and you concretize that common market and that one voice moving forward, you wouldn't agree on everything, but you recognize the geopolitical fragmentation in some spaces, the geopolitical coalescing in other spaces requires us, Africa, the Caribbean, to act differently.
Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.
With the focus on global Africa, heads of states and representatives of Caribbean nations have also been invited.
That wider African family is very much in evidence. Right now on stage, we have leaders from across Africa and the Caribbean.
This relationship, in my estimation, really starts to uncover what our foreparents meant for this to be.
If we have all these cultural affiliations like we do, same skin, same color, same mentality, came from the same motherland, then it's profoundly illogical that we haven't developed solid trade routes over the years.
Being here and building these relationships and creating the enabling environment for businesses in the Caribbean to do the heavy lifting in development, but also to be able to generate revenue and profits by tapping into the fastest growing market in the world, in Africa, can't be overstated. This is how we bring our regions closer together, the continent and the Caribbean region. This is an exciting time. I think it's an inflection point in the history of the Caribbean and Africa as one people, because I see our futures being completely interlinked as a people. Nothing can stand in the way of that.
I encourage all of us to do our part in whatever area we are to make sure that this goes to where our people always wanted it, an integrated people working for itself for the benefit of all. Thank you very much.
The Afreximbank AAM is occurring against a backdrop of profound global uncertainty. With America's tariffs and an environment of fast-changing policies and shifts in established relationships, it's no wonder the world's media has descended here. Where the choice is made will have far-reaching consequences for Africa and beyond.
For us in Africa, the volatility is concerning, but I think we are ready. It calls for self-confidence, the ability to know that you can utilize the talents you have, the potentials you have, and just bring them together to respond.
Yeah, I think the availability of capital has always been a problem for companies in Africa. There is a collaboration between the private sector and government to try to see how the problem of capital flows are sorted.
It's about time we start not only just walking the talk, but actually demonstrating that when we do get involved, great things actually happen.
It's fascinating to gauge all the reactions here, and it's certainly not all doom and gloom. Many people tell us that Africa has all it takes to own its own future, and that more cooperation is needed within the continent, and that's exactly what this place is about.
It is a privilege to address this distinguished audience this morning. We live in an era of uncertainty and increasing polarity, where alliances are fragile and support is no longer certain.
We've seen them over the years, commodity price shocks, terrorism-induced shocks, geopolitical shocks, tariffs and non-tariff issues all over the place. Emerging wars are now becoming actual wars. The thing that has, we ingrained in our DNA is that we ourselves as Afreximbank are a child of necessity. That's how we were established. That's for the reason we were established. So each and every time we have risen to the occasion.
It is a moment to reaffirm a commitment, renew our strategy, and rally around a shared imperative. I think it's probably the most important imperative. An imperative to transform Africa from within. Thank you for your attention, and God bless you all.
It seems the current unpredictable economy is strengthening alliances and coping mechanisms within Africa, and there's a real sense of optimism in the air. But what's the best way through all the turbulent waters? Well, that's what the next keynote speech is all about.
I want you to welcome the distinguished fellow from the Asia Research Institute, Dr. Kishore Mahbubani.
So what I hope to do is hopefully give you a realistic understanding of the world that is coming. It's important to remember that only 12% of the world's population lives in the West and 88% lives in the rest of the world. And among these 88%, the fastest growing new populations of the world are coming from Africa. But I must emphasize that growth doesn't come naturally. Economic growth is always a result of massive effort, hard work, a lot of discipline, and careful economic planning. The West is lost, but that doesn't mean we give up on the West, because the West still remains very strong, very powerful, but we must learn to work with a different West. Secondly, the next hard truth is that Asia is rising. Asia is returning. And let there be no doubts in your mind. The 21st century will be the Asian century. And the third hard truth, we're going to have to deal with the biggest geopolitical contest ever seen in human history between the world's number one power, the United States of America, and the world's number one rising power, China. And trust me, there are also magnificent opportunities coming our way. And what we have to do is to learn to be very shrewd and calculating, to see the opportunities and to seize them and do very well. Thank you.
In an uncertain world, Africa must also confront outdated perceptions of risk.
Why preferred creditor status is so important for our African multilateral financial institutions.
It is central to how these institutions will exist. They will be unable to do the work they want to do, the developmental work they want to do for African governments, if that status isn't there.
It's only just starting because of the increasing relevance of our institutions.
We Africans are now muscling in on territory that is to be held by others.
These are the last kicks of a dying giant, if you like.
Wow.
The preferred creditor status of one entity is discredited. It's a strong precedent to discredit the whole ecosystem of financing for Africa. They claim that these institutions are lending into risky projects. But the lending is also driven by the need.
Afrexim has been a very important partner in our development journey. This is a period where actually we need to strengthen instruments like the preferred credit status, because we need to bolster as much as possible the ability of African economies to be able to withstand these challenging periods.
We need to support these multilateral financial institutions to the extent that should be supported either when they are mobilizing more resources in terms of capital, in terms of contributions, so that they can continue supporting our development agenda.
But the rating itself is neither here nor there, as you would have seen. It goes up and down. And this is not the first time Fitch is actually giving Afreximbank a negative rating action. It's done so in the past. It didn't raise much concern because everyone knows you could be rated up today and you rated slightly lower tomorrow, and the day after, you get a significant improvement.
At its best, keynotes here have shown that the West doesn't know what it's grappling with right now. So to insist on the same kind of template to map Africa's trajectory of development, in particular its financial institutions, in the current age, really doesn't make sense.
They then embedded in the treaty establishing Afreximbank the kind of treatment which they would only give to a public sector multilateral. What's the message? Afreximbank is probably in a better situation than those multilaterals because it can do private, public, just everything and get that treatment. That's the real problem that we have with Fitch. They have a difficulty understanding that.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Please join me in giving a great appreciation to this wonderful panel.
Gagan Gupta now on the journey to making Africa a global manufacturing hub.
So while the world has moved on, we have stuck really to exporting raw products for last 200 to 300 years. So you have a situation whereby you export raw material, import finished products. So I think the policy framework is lacking in most part of the countries for enabling industrialization. In our partnership with Afrexim, we are really changing that. And we have key 4 platforms with Afrexim. First is Arise Integrated Industrial Platforms. Second partnership is Africa Trading Distribution Company. Third platform that we have is A2MP, which is Africa Mineral Metal Processing Platform. And lastly, Spiro, which is an e-mobility platform, which is really how do you ensure that we are bringing EV to Africa at a very different pace and space. So I think the transformation journey really starts with all of you here. It does not start with anybody else. I think you have to ask yourself, how many times when you are buying something, are you really buying made in Africa or not? You don't industrialize a nation by saying that we'll buy everything which is made outside, but we want everybody else to buy our product. That, next time, please ensure that you are promoting made in Africa and buying and wearing made in Africa and using made in Africa. Thank you.
What's striking is that it's not just growth, but constant innovation that is driving Afreximbank's success. From implementing financial systems to boost trade and commerce, to targeting new areas like the creative industries. And another hot topic in innovation is being discussed right now on stage: AI.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. You've probably seen it all when it comes to emerging technologies, AI, when it comes to agriculture. From what you observed, what have been the most effective innovations?
Technology is why 70% or more of Africans are involved in agriculture, and yet we are not able to feed ourselves. And in America and the likes, only 4% are involved in agricultural production. This is because they apply science, technology, and innovation.
Industry sectors have an opportunity also to much better do marketing, to better understand what the opportunities are in this digital development. And the African Trade Gateway is another brilliant example, I think, what we know from Afreximbank, streamlining access to markets, streamlining access to information, and also regulate data, and of course the trade finance opportunities.
The problems in Africa is not a reality problem, it's actually a data problem. So the more data that we have, the more we are able to understand the uniqueness of our customers, of our people, and therefore we are able to serve them better.
My name is Haitham Al-Mayargi. I am the Executive Vice President of Global Trade Bank at Afreximbank. I think the future for Africa is focus on digital and moving their trade into digital. And for a very good reason. We have more than 100 borders between us. We have more than 40 currencies. We have a lot of regulations, but digital knows no borders. This is our chance to do it now. And this is where we came up with the ATG, which is Africa Trade Gateway. It's basically getting everybody on one platform for buyers, sellers to meet and show each other what they have so we don't go outside and buy. The future is digital. Let's focus on exporting electrons less than molecules. And trade is changing, and we need to ride this change digitally.
We need to put in place some of the key infrastructure that will be able to power AI. And I think we need to begin to invest in, data centers, fiber, and things that actually are oxygen to support a data-driven world.
that. You have to create an ecosystem around that, which is about innovation and doing that. So we need the right sources for financing, crowding in, as I mentioned before. So policy alignment, human capital development, and ecosystem building.
A science, technology, and innovation-led development is a political endeavor. Most of the countries that have leapfrogged into adopting and using AI, it has been through the highest level of political goodwill.
One more round of applause for my distinguished panel. It's been an absolute pleasure moderating.
Well, hello, Mr. Ogbalu. You're my tallest interviewee yet. How are you doing?
I am doing really well. It's a momentous occasion. Afreximbank Annual Meeting is always really a gathering of Africa's champions, and there's always excitement in the air. But this year is even much more exciting because we are celebrating a great man, a great African who has indeed done so much for the continent.
Tell us about why perhaps was so pivotal, so crucial to the journey of Afreximbank.
Afreximbank realized that for it to be able to unlock the value chains, it needed a payment system that is fit for purpose. Trade does not take place without payments. If you don't do payments, you don't do trade. So in the past, each of us had to convert to some third-party currencies and so on to be able to do trade. What we've done is to build a payment system that allows us to be able to trade in our various local currencies. That will result in an explosion on the continent.
But does that explosion of trade extend to Africa's cultural industries?
This event is called Content is the New Crude.
Quantity is also important, but I think of the quality first.
We're going to use technology. We're going to use industry experts.
Another strong building block that will create wealth, not just for individuals, but for the country.
I am now joined by Claire Akamanzi. She is the CEO of NBA Africa. Hello, Claire. How are you doing?
Very good, delighted to be here. I'm super excited about BAL because of what we're seeing that BAL is doing on the African continent. BAL had contributed $250 million to Africa's GDP, and 37,000 jobs were linked to the existence of BAL in the first 4 years, primarily again in the countries that we play in. And there are two messages there. One, Africa is ready for this kind of sports and entertainment. And the second message there is Africans don't have to leave the continent to play and enjoy a world-class basketball game.
One final word about how you're feeling being here in this moment and to see gatherings of this sort?
Being in this conference, for me, is very energizing and brings a lot of optimism about the continent. There have been honest discussions around what are the challenges to getting where we are. There's been acknowledgement about the fact that Africa has talent and resources in many industries, but even in sports. There's been an acknowledgement that there is need for that talent to stay on the continent and to produce the best of what the world can consume from the continent. If we talk collectively and we act collectively, I would say Africa has a really bright future.
Innovation is clearly right at the heart of Africa's transformation. Everyone here is looking to the future, and that's where we're going next.
I feel the energy to get Africa connected. I feel like we are more ready now than last year. I'm superbly optimistic, superbly happy. By the time we're done with this program, we will have clarity on how to solve some of the problems that we have facing financial services.
African problem require African solution, and we can do it.
We're starting this new day and getting ready to hear from more business leaders on stage, starting with Aliko Dangote.
Thank you. And every time I see you, there's more happening, and you are revolutionizing so many things across the value chain. But I want to quickly start with our topic. So let's look at the President Trump model. So America first, the tariffs, the confrontation, wanting to reindustrialize America. I mean, it's created so much debate and actually what we call global trade war. But it's really interesting to look at the dynamics of this, because to industrialize, you've got to take tough decisions. Is there anything that America is doing right now where you're saying, you know what, that would work for the African context?
Some people might not agree with me, but I fully agree with him because I've been through that route where now we try to do industries and they keep saying that, no, open up your market. Since it is America first, we should also say Africa first. We should try and create jobs. It is about creating wealth.
Yeah.
You know, how do you create wealth? You create jobs, you make sure that you expand the economy. Other investors will see what you are doing, and they will also join. We are the only people that can make Africa great.
Yeah.
Nobody will do that for us. I mean, if you look at it today, why do you want to bother going to the US? I mean, we have 60% of the world's arable land.
Yeah.
Agriculture is not cheap. Okay, we have all the mineral sources from gold, lithium, diamonds, everything. We have it here. Yeah. So all what you need to do is to start giving conditions to people. Don't come and take my cocoa and process over there, and you come now and sell the chocolate to me 20 times the cost of that chocolate. So let us make our continent a productive continent.
Well, by Africa for Africa is first understanding that it's our continent. We don't have anywhere else to go. We need to embrace the opportunity that's offered to us as Africans, to do what Africa needs for Africa to thrive. If every country gives the first right to African entrepreneurs to implement projects in road infrastructure, in energy, in power, in agriculture, in water, airport, any things that we need, you will see that Africa will thrive. People put some sort of risk perception into the continent. We understand the Africa risk. We are willing to take the Africa risk. We don't have any country limit. Africa is our turf, and we're here to stay. European companies want to do business in Africa. Asian countries want to do business in Africa. We've seen it with expansion of China. Americans want to do business for Africa. So why would Africans also not take advantage of the opportunities that we do see? It's our turf.
Next, joining us virtually is world-renowned economist, best-selling author, and global leader in sustainable development, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, who has served as a special advisor to no fewer than 3 UN Secretary Generals.
Greetings. The next period of rapid growth is Africa's turn. All of the vision of Africa as a high-income continent is completely achievable between now and 2063. The key is to raise the rates of investment on the continent from roughly 20 to 25% of the income to around 40% of the income. But there's no doubt, but the first area of investment that is the gold mine for Africa is investment in education. There is no higher return for Africa, or for any country, than investing in its children. The second area of investment is in infrastructure. Certainly electricity for everybody. Certainly digital access for everybody. Certainly transport facilities for everybody. The third area of investment, of course, is the business sector. It's the private economy. And that is where the private entrepreneurs have, of course, the overwhelming responsibility. If the skilled work is there, and if the physical infrastructure is in place, then Africa will achieve a boom in the private sector as well. And the Africa Continental Free Trade Area should make this a unified effort. Infrastructure should cross national borders. Power grid should cross national borders. Highways and rail should cross national borders. This should be intrinsic. What we need is an African currency, African monetary institutions, African settlements, an African lender of last resort. Plan for, look for, expect, and work for a very high growth next 30 years in Africa. I'm most positive about the fact that with the new technologies that we have, we can make breakthroughs across the board in education, online, in healthcare, in advances in services, in advances in agriculture, in advances in mining sector. We have a cornucopia of new breakthroughs that enable us to have really the shared prosperity in the world.
Something quite interesting is happening behind these doors. Senior executives of the Afreximbank are gathered and voting for the next president of the bank, and his or her name, any minute now, will be announced officially.
President Benedict Oramah, President of Afreximbank 2015 to 2025, and incoming President of Afreximbank, Dr. George Elomouj.
The vote went smoothly and he received unanimous support, 100% of the votes.
And that is it. The new president of Afreximbank has officially been announced. Dr. George Elomouj is a former executive vice president with the bank, and he's now stepping in as president, with the baton being passed from Nigeria to Cameroon.
I feel really, really excited. I'm pleased that the person who's taken over from me has been part of the Afreximbank journey for the past 29 years. So he understands all the issues and he has the courage to continue with what the bank is doing. And also bring his own perspectives as he does that.
And there was another exciting announcement to come.
This is truly a milestone in Africa's financial journey. It is the PAPS card launch. The PAPS card not only reduces costs and streamlines payments, but also ensures that our data, very important, and the value remains within Africa's borders. Now, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the future of payment. Made in Africa, by Africa, for Africa.
With the conference building to a climax, it's time for President Oramah's final address.
I made a solemn promise to shareholders to, and I quote, to deliver a solid bank that will be a leader among its peers in all measures of financial performance. I stand before you most pleased and fulfilled that I kept my promises. We have collectively over the past decade built a solid financial institution that is good for global Africa. Total assets and guarantees grew more than 8-fold between September 2015 and April 2025 to reach $43.5 billion. Total revenues also rose 7-fold, reaching $3.24 billion from $408 million in 2015. Net income amounted to about $1 billion last year, about 700% increase from the level of $125 million in 2015. Internal capital generation and very strong support from shareholders through significant additional equity investments saw shareholders' funds rise from about $1 billion in September 2015 to $7.5 billion in April 2025. With callable capital reaching $4.5 billion from $450 million in September 2015. Liquidity remained very strong, with sources of funding much more diversified in 2024 than in 2015. I also thank all my colleagues at Afreximbank for their unfettered commitment and support, which enabled us to deliver on our shared commitment to the continent. When I took office, I told you we are all joint mandated lead arrangers. So as joint mandated lead arrangers, we have made significant personal sacrifices for the bank and our continent. I thank you and your families for all the sacrifices and support you've given to me, to the bank, and to the continent. My wife, my record of Jupiter, was the tree that made the forest in the past 10 years. I'm pleased I can now say to all of them, my children and my wife, that they can now have their father and husband back. I thank you for your kind attention.
And now, President Tinubu of Nigeria will take to the stage to bring the 2025 Afreximbank AAM to a close and honor President Oramah with something truly remarkable.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please spare me the burden of protocol. Today is your day, Prof. Oramah. Listening to the account and the report rendered eloquently by you, its decade of leadership saw the bank champions Africa's pandemic response, drive industrialization, support the African Free Trade Area, and the continent's creative economy. Its legacy is one of the generational impact. Thank you. Nigeria has proudly benefited from over $52 billion in support directed into energy, agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, healthcare, and creative industries. Flagship projects such as Dangote and Bua refineries, the African Medical Center of Excellence, and the African Quality Assurance Center embody confidence in Nigeria, in Nigeria's future and Africa's potential. Our partnership with Afreximbank is not just about financing. It is about fostering African entrepreneurship, elevating quality standards, and scaling small-scale enterprises in creative and export-driven industries. As the world becomes increasingly fragmented, with rising protectionism and shifting trade dynamics, Africa must double down on its institutions and capabilities. In closing, let us fully adopt paths to reduce costs, conserve foreign reserves, and empower small-scale enterprises. Let us strengthen financial support to Afreximbank to scale its transformational impact. This is a moment to reflect on our shared resilience and renew our commitment to shaping Africa's future boldly and deliberately. I have the honor and privilege to recognize you, the outstanding contribution of Professor Benedict Oramah, by conferring you with one of Nigeria's highest honors, the Grand Commander of the Order of Niger.
The truth is that President Oramah deserves that award. Knowing who President Oramah is, I'm sure he was also surprised that the president took it beyond just a mere thank you, but to give him that kind of award.
The amount of dedication, love of the continent, the amount of vision of connecting dots, seeing the big picture and seeing how can we be really impactful, was something to learn a lot from. He encouraged you and inspired you to come up with more things as we serve the continent, and he is always supportive, and he can feel this is part of the vision of Africa, so let's make sure we deliver such things.
President Oramah is a Pan-Africanist. He has the best interest of Africa at heart, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to support African development. It is not what's serving the interests of the bank, it is what's serving the interests of Africa.
I think that the leadership of President Oramah has been truly transformational. He has been bold, like I said, about the intervention to make sure that they were a catalyst for change and transformation. And I think that at some point you need more of a revolution than a slow evolution.
I'm proud of him. He's done an amazing job. Happy to be a partner. I'm happy to be his friend and brother. He's built a strong foundation. President George Elombi now has the mantle to make us proud.
Oramah is formidable
because he's complex. It's hard to find in one person all the qualities that you find in Oramah.
I think he's a man of tremendous courage, vision, boldness. He has led Afrexim very, very well and provided a very good example for others to follow.
He's the story of resilience and resistance. A piece of steel stands firm, drives the continent forward. The ability to see opportunities where others see danger, where others see risk. So that boldness of the mind is what makes him one of Africa's leading entrepreneurs, one of those the government should take seriously to work with in trying to recover Africa's great past.
And I've no doubt that his successors will carry on in his footsteps. I salute him.
You can be a master of your destiny. You have been courageous, you've worked so hard, but there's a lot more work to do. And just as you supported me, I would like you to support Dr. George Elombi, who is taking over from me. I think the legacy is what I believe we've left in the people I'm leaving behind. Collectively, the values we all cherish. The value of putting Africa first, integrity, commitment to our work in Africa, hard work, and making sure that we respect one another.
With formal proceedings coming to an end, it's now time to celebrate. And as you can see, celebrations are already in full swing. There's this performance, beautiful traditional performance happening right behind me.
Please make some noise as you make welcome David O.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide, y'all. Yeah, Wyclef from a true MC. Shout out to the First Lady. Yeah, I bring the drama. This is my president. His name is Oramah. Put your hands up. Everybody hands up. Put your hands up. Everybody hands up. Everybody in the house, put your hands up. Come on, bounce, 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 bounce. Fuji fans. You can't run away. You can't run away. Hey baby, cause I got a lot. Oh yeah.
It's been an amazing few days. We've seen how substantial growth and steady evolution have built resilient schemes and mechanisms that are helping Africa to weather today's uncertain global economy. And with constant innovation, combined with the cooperation of so many collaborators from right across the African diaspora.
Thank you very much. I hope that was not too long.
This AAM 2025, which has been amazing. It's important that we take this message forward.
It's been a brilliant initiative that they put together.
It was very impactful.
I think it's been transformational.
As the bank bids farewell to its beloved President Oramah, he leaves behind an amazing legacy and the hope for a bright future. Afreximbank has been a pioneer in so many ways, and I am excited to see what comes next. As for Africa, the continent seems poised to take its rightful place as a global economic powerhouse.
We have the capacity to be globally competitive.
We need to embrace the opportunity that's offered to us as Africans.
And we have an opportunity now to write a different story, to chart a different course.
We say, come on in, let's join forces so that we can continue to scale.
Let us actually export to others and compete on the global arena.
For the magic of Africa to emerge, you got to try and cut down at the borders that separate the African countries.
To see more collaboration, more innovation.
More conversation, more beliefs in ourselves, in our capacity.
That job is not done yet. We have to do it.